You know that feeling, right? You see a flash in the rearview mirror, a letter shows up in the mail, and boom, you've got a speeding ticket from an automated camera. For most of us, that's where the story ends. You pay the fine, you move on. But what if it wasn't the end? What if it was just the beginning of a story that spirals all the way to the highest courts and starts to challenge the very technology we're all told to trust? Well, that's exactly what happened here. This one sentence, pulled right from the legal documents, really gets to the absolute heart of this whole thing. This stopped being about a simple fine a long, long time ago. Now it's about trust, it's about transparency, and it's about our right to actually question the systems that are supposed to hold us accountable. So where does this all kick off? Well, it starts simply enough with 2 speeding tickets back in 2023. But for the driver, this wasn't just about paying up. No, it became a mission to find out if the tech that issued the ticket was even working the way it was supposed to. And the citizen at the center of all this is Teenadeep Singh Gill. After he got those tickets, he did what most of us probably wouldn't think to do. He asked a perfectly reasonable question. He just wanted to see the maintenance and fault logs for the camera, to make sure it was calibrated correctly when it clocked his speed. Seems simple, right? You'd think getting those kinds of records would be pretty straightforward, but instead, what he ran into was, well, a bureaucratic brick wall. His official Freedom of Information requests were met with some serious resistance, and that turned his simple question into a full-blown battle. And just look at this timeline. It shows you the sheer persistence this took. It all starts with a request in March 2024, which then leads through denials, a ruling from the Information Commissioner's Office, and finally an appeal to a tribunal over a year later. This was not a quick no. This was a long, drawn-out, multi-stage fight just to get an answer. And this was the official reason he hit that wall. A very clear, very definitive statement from Kent Police. Basically, we don't have the records because we don't do the calibration ourselves. So, case closed, right? Well, not even close. In fact, it actually got worse. His requests were eventually labeled vexatious. Now, that's a really powerful word in this world. It basically means the requests are being treated as a nuisance, like they're just designed to annoy or disrupt. And it gives the authorities a reason to just stop responding. The door was officially slammed shut. But just when you think it's all over, this is where the story takes a massive turn. Because while Kent Police shut one door, a completely different public body opened another one. And it revealed a document that seemed to contradict everything the police had just claimed.
Okay, remember this statement? We don't hold the information. Burn that into your brain for a second.
Now look at this. This is a clause from the actual service contract for the speed cameras. It says clear as day that the contractor will maintain a record of all faults and report them to the employer, who then uses a database to manage them. So the records do exist, which brings up the million-dollar question, who exactly is the employer? And this table connects all the dots. Turns out the employer isn't just one single entity, it's a partnership. And look who's listed right there as a key partner and a beneficiary of the contract. Kent Police. This pretty strongly suggests they should have access to the very database of fault records they claimed they didn't hold. Okay, so with this apparent contradiction in hand, the entire game changed. This wasn't just about getting information anymore. Oh no, it escalated into some very serious allegations of misconduct, pointed directly at the police force itself. And the allegations that came out of this discovery are incredibly serious. We're talking about making false statements, hiding evidence that could potentially prove someone's innocence, and even misconduct in public office. That last one is a big deal. It's aimed right at the leadership of the force and suggests this wasn't just a mistake, but a willful abuse of the public's trust. With the stakes this high, the whole battleground shifted. This moved way beyond the information tribunals and into one of the highest courts in the UK, a place where the fundamental actions of a public body can be put under a microscope. So, for anyone who's not familiar, what even is a judicial review? Well, it's not about the speeding ticket anymore, it's about something much bigger. It's a process where a high court judge looks at whether a public authority, in this case the police, actually acted lawfully. It's a check on their power. And the target of this whole judicial review, it's none other than the Chief Constable of Kent Police. This takes the fight for accountability straight to the top. The argument is that the leadership is ultimately responsible for the actions and the statements of the entire police force. So, why should any of us care about one person's fight over a couple of speeding tickets? Because honestly, the implications of this case ripple out and touch on these huge issues of justice, our trust in technology, and some of our most basic civil liberties. When you boil it all down, you're left with two completely opposing stories. On one side, you have the citizen, who's being framed as someone performing a public service, asking tough questions in the national interest. And on the other, you have the police's version, that he's just someone with a personal vendetta, an axe to grind, making low-value requests. It'll be up to the court to figure out which story the evidence actually supports.
And the potential fallout here is just enormous. Think about it. If it's proven that fault logs were concealed, it could cast a shadow of doubt over every single prosecution that relied on data from the speed camera network. We could be talking about thousands of convictions that are now fundamentally unsafe.
And that brings us to the final, critical question that this whole case leaves us with. As we hand over more and more of our justice system to automated technology, who checks the checker? When a machine gets it wrong, how do we even find out? And who ultimately is held accountable? This case might not give us all the answers, but just by forcing us to ask the question, it's already a huge step.